Welcome back. This week, inventions, the technology of flight. What is an invention? What does that word mean? What do you think? Well, an invention is any new creation which improves the way something is done or introduces a new way of doing things. Inventions are all around us, too. Every single day, we use inventions and technology that have been invented by people to help improve our lives. For example, you can turn on a light to wake up. That's an invention. Eat food out of a refrigerator that keeps your food cold. That was an invention. Ride in a car or bus to go somewhere. Write with a pencil. Use the toilet. Without inventions, our lives would be completely different. We would live much more like cave people or very ancient humans with no technology. If we had no inventions and no technology, we would be living in nature, in the forests, living very hard, short, probably violent and difficult lives. But with inventions and technology, our lives become a lot more easy. The invention of flight. For countless years, humans looked at birds and dreamed of being able to fly like they can, gracefully through the sky, flying all over. And eventually, people invented a way to fly. The first flying vehicles were invented 220 years ago, and they were flying air balloons. And like this one, they were called dirigibles. Unfortunately, some of these had bad designs and they crashed and burned. This was called the Hindenburg, and it was a terrible disaster a long time ago. This was basically, this balloon was full of very flammable gas, and it was painted with really flammable paint too, and so it caught fire and long time ago, a lot of people were killed by this. But that didn't stop people from trying to invent ways to fly, like birds. But inventing is a process. You start out with an idea of something, and you improve it every step of the way. Every step of the way, it becomes better and more efficient and better at what it's trying to do. Sometimes it takes a long time to invent something that actually works, and inventors have to be persistent and have grit. That means not giving up easily. So people tried and tried to invent ways to fly, but most of them all failed. So there was many failed flights. People looked at how birds flapped their wings and tried to invent powered machines that flew, but nearly all of them completely failed, and they were very wacky looking too. This one failed, that one failed, this one failed, that one failed. They all failed. It was all a big failure. Here, let's watch a video on some of these failed flying devices. After all these failures, finally, success. In 1903, the Wright brothers invented the first working airplane prototype. They were super excited, and this paved the way for a whole new era of airplane technology. But what's this word mean? Prototype. Well, a prototype is the very first model of something, especially a machine from which other forms are developed. So, the most important thing to remember if you're inventing something isn't necessarily the end. It's how hard you try. You got to keep trying. If you don't give up, you can actually succeed. It took Thomas Edison hundreds and hundreds of tries before he finally made a working light bulb. Let's watch a little video from my favorite scientist about working hard and inventing something.
Inventions usually don't work the first time. Please consider the following. I don't know about you, but when I think of an invention, I think of a light bulb. Now, light bulbs are all over the place these days, but they weren't until they were invented. See, people realized that they could get light from electricity when they saw lightning, or when they made sparks with a machine like this one. They're sparks, all right, but they're a little bit hard to control, and they're a little bit dangerous. Edison had the idea, seems obvious now, of containing the sparks in a glass bulb. He also had the idea of running electricity through a fiber or a filament. The filament would glow, and that would give off light. But the filament would burn up until Edison realized he could put it in a vacuum where there's no air. And he tried all kinds of different materials for his filaments. And they say he tried over 300 things. And someone said to him, "Well, Mr. Edison, you've gotten nowhere." And Edison said, "What do you mean? I found 300 things that won't work." Anyway, Edison, working with a guy named Lewis Latimer, came up with a filament that would work. It was a baked cotton fiber. So they put their fiber in a glass bulb, and to keep it from burning up, they pumped all the air out. They made a vacuum. Then they ran electricity through the wire. See, it's giving off light. But you can see here in the lab, our vacuum pump isn't quite good enough. And our filament is starting to burn up. Now, Edison's invention wasn't perfect. There were still a lot of improvements to be made. But that's the way it is with inventions. One invention leads to another. Well, thank you for joining me on...
It takes a lot of tries to make an invention that works. You've got to keep trying and keep making different design changes until it works like you want. That's what the Wright brothers did. And today, what do I want you guys to do? Well, try to invent a paper airplane prototype of your own and test it. So you can, I'm not necessarily going to teach you how to make a paper airplane. I want you to try and invent your own paper airplane and try it out and see if it works. If it doesn't, that's part of the invention process. All right, when you want to get started making an airplane design, grab a piece of paper. It can be any size. It doesn't have to be white. It could be just an old piece of a magazine or something too. And start to fold it. I suggest folding it in the middle, either like this or like this to start. Try to make your own design. I'm not going to show you exactly how to do it. I want you to try to invent something of your own and then test it out. Here's my paper airplane design I just invented. I just kind of made it up. I've never seen one like this, but I'm going to test it out. And here we go. I'll test it out and see how well it does. Maybe it'll do good, maybe it'll fail. We'll see. Not very good. Well, that's a part of inventing though. Usually, your first invention will fail. Then you have to improve on it. So try to make a different airplane after this and see if you can do better than your first one. After that, just take a picture of it and post it on Seesaw for me. And If you want to, you can tell me about how it worked too.